111th contact, Monday, July 17, 1978, 8:03 am. Block 3, pages 185, 189. Semyaza says wake up, at last. Friend, dear friend, come on, come. Quetzal says don't be so worried, his coma is already leaving him. It is also so incomprehensible, but it's actually going away. Semyaza says surely. You don't just want to comfort me. He is still so severely injured. Quetzal says really, don't be worried. You see, he's waking up. There you are, at last. You have caused us worries, my friend. Billy says oh, man, this crap. Quetzal says you see, Semyaza, he's already recovering quite well. He can already grumble again like a trooper. Semyaza says my friend, Billy, what are you doing? How do you feel? Billy says it's going. Semyaza says you became quite badly ill. Billy says but somehow, it goes again. I saw myself soon in the eternal hunting grounds. Oh man, this sweat, this is disgusting. Quetzal says you amaze me. You were just lying in the deepest coma, and you're already back to full consciousness, without a transitional phase. I would also like to have your constitution of your will. Billy says oh, of course, I collapsed in the forest. I became nauseated all of a sudden, then I saw some stars, and then some merry fireworks, probably the terrific fire in Holland. After that, everything went as fast as lightning, everything became blissfully nice, and then, I sank into a bright blue sea. Then, there was quite simply nothing more. I had become quite unconscious down in the forest, right? Quetzal says so it was, that is of correctness. But you were not very far from not returning to this life anymore. At any rate, you wouldn't have survived more than 5 to 6 hours more. Your lungs and your pleura were inflamed like a blazing inferno. Moreover, you suffered from severe shortness of breath through the inflammation of the lungs and the pleura. In addition to that came the fact that your nerves were in very vicious turmoil and still multiplied the illness effects. Your heart was also affected by this and worked very irregularly. Billy says it certainly couldn't have been so bad because I feel quite adequate again. Semyaza says Quetzal brought you into our ship with the teleporter, examined you very closely, and diagnosed you here via the apparatuses. There are, therefore, no doubts about his findings. He was also the one who connected you to this regeneration device, in order to eliminate the most dangerous illness effects. That's why you feel much better now. Your moisture drain, which you call sweat and which you noticed, is also because of this treatment referred to you, and it will still continue to persist for approximately 1 hour. Billy says that is, indeed, magnificent. Quite dear thanks for that. Quetzal says you're still not back to full health, you should know that. But I may not allow more treatment to be applied to you because that could produce harmful consequences to your body. Next, you need to nurse yourself back to health or consult a doctor. Above all, during the next few days, you should see to it that you breathe a lot of fresh and healthy air, get plenty of sleep, and go for many walks. Semyaza says please hold yourself to Quetzal's advice because it is of importance for your health. And in the future, please be kinder with your health and no longer drive yourself into illness through worries and problems. That's the main reason why the illness could befall you, for your nerves were completely ruined, as Quetzal determined. He also found out that this was due to the concerns that you mentioned on last Sunday during our conversation, when we talked about the deplorable conditions in the group. Unfortunately, we still haven't been able to find a solution in this regard, but up to now we have come so far that we've recognized that you really aren't able to bear the nervous strain anymore. The leadership of the group in all matters is too much for one human being alone, and moreover, it is all something like a miracle, as you would say to this, that you were able to do it at all and hold out for such a long time. Just too much had been expected of you. We also understand now that you cannot continue in this regard and that a change must take place. But how this change should look, we do not know yet, since it truly places us before a very big problem, for in your group, no one is found who could take over this difficult task even only halfway. Billy says you have, indeed, made quite an enormous change of heart in yourselves. Is this also the opinion of Pata and the others? Quetzal says that is of correctness. Billy says, aha, what reasonable human beings you are. Semyaza says, just bring forth your mockery with us, we have honestly earned it. But on the other hand, you should take into consideration that we are not superhumans or super people and also have to learn constantly, which we can often only do through committed mistakes. On the other hand, however, the Earth human beings still pose great and partially very severe problems for us in their whole manner of thinking and acting, whereby we can be misled over and over again, and through this, we also inevitably make wrong decisions and have false views. Billy says, I'm not reproaching you all, girl. Sometimes, one is just led to express himself in mockery. Quetzal says that is of correctness. That is also often the case with us. Billy says, aha, so then you are somehow real human beings. But tell me, what do you actually want from me? You didn't pick me up for nothing, right? Semyaza says you called for me in a rather needful manner. That's why we came, but without previously holding an inspection as to why you called me. That's why we led you so far away. If we had found out via an inspection that you were injured so much by illness, then we would have directly snatched you up at home with the teleporter. But we first recognized things when you collapsed in the forest down there. Unfortunately, all your thoughts were blocked, which is why we weren't able to analyze them. Billy says, I should have called you. I know nothing about that, my child. Quetzal says, then it must have been an unconscious consequence, probably in a delirium. Billy says that is probable the gist of the matter. Semyaza says, but now, you shouldn't speak so much, rather, you should go back home and rest. Billy says, then let me down. Jacobus and Elsa are down there and waiting for me. The two will take me home. Quetzal says it is better if we set you down over there. For as you can see, there are two men coming along the forest road. You have your communication device with you, so inform your friends that they should pick you up over there. Billy says, okay. Meier knows 3, Meier knows 3.
Miranus 3 sagt ja, ich bin da, Miranus 1. Billy sagt Jakobus, fahr nach Schalche Oberio und dann geh Villa zu. Miranus 3 sagt, ich ha die nüt recht verstande. Uf Schalche, oh und denn? Billy sagt, fahr uf Schalche, oh und denn Stress gegen Villa zu. Miranus 3 sagt, ich ha verstande. Uf Schalche obere. Ma kümmert. Billy sagt, gut, ich rüf da denn wieder.
Semyaza says your native language still isn't understandable to me. Billy says even I don't understand it sometimes. There are so many dialects. Quetzal says once I've set you down, keep moving and don't just stand still at the place, otherwise, you'll fall asleep on the spot. I had to numb your nerves, so now, it's as though they are sleeping and they are very slow to react. Billy says, oh, and how long will this condition last, then? Quetzal says about 12 to 14 days, for only through this will the nerves regenerate in a short time. Billy says, so, how did you make this numbing? Quetzal says, through electromagnetic influences. Billy says, so to speak, a bombardment. Quetzal says that is approximately of correctness. But look, your friends are already driving along the road there. Tell them that they should turn left at the road there and stop at the fence. Billy says, okay.
Gut, Jakobus, fahr grad die Straße da links inne. Miranus 3 sagt die rechts da? Billy sagt nein, grad die da links. Miranus 3 sagt die links, gut. Billy sagt ja, fahr nur der Weg hintere. Fahr nur noch weiter hintere gut, ja, halt grad da beim Haag. Ja, gut. Ich komme dann dorthin.
So, Quetzal, now you can let me down. The area is no. Look there, once again, people are coming.
Jakobus, ich bin innerhalb innere Viertelstund oder 20 Minuten ditte. Miranus 3 sagt gut, in innere Viertelstund oder 20 Minuten.
Semyaza says I will set you down over there in the forest clearing near the house. Billy says very well. Then I can call Jacobus by radio again, then he can pick me up over there. I wouldn't like to walk so far, somehow I still feel weak and tired. Quetzal says that will also continue for a few more days. So now, I'll set you down. Be careful, the ground down there is somewhat damp, I hope you don't slip upon touchdown. Till we meet again, my friend, and be very mindful of yourself. I will come back tomorrow or on Wednesday, for by then, we should be able to have advice for you. Till we meet again. Billy says goodbye, Quetzal, and very many thanks for your effort and help. You, too, dear girl, very many thanks until we meet again. Semyaza says farewell, and pay close attention to yourself. Billy says bye together, and once again, very dear thanks. The end.